It's my honor to talk to Tom
you,
Kehoe.
Thank you, Lynn.
And so that you can tell your story, Tom. Where did you grow up?
Grew up in New York City, Flushing, about a mile away from Shea Stadium.
Oh my God, are you a Mets fan?
Oh, definitely. Mets, Jets, and the New York Knicks.
Oh, very good, very good. And were you drafted? Did you enlist?
No, I enlisted in October of 1968.
Okay.
At first, I wanted to get into the Navy because my family, World War I Navy, my father's in World War II, my uncle's Coast Guard, so it was the Navy Coast Guard thing. I went down to Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn, that's where you processed in New York, and the Navy had a waiting list at the time. It was right in the middle of Vietnam and everything, and I scored probably average on the test, and I got kind of disgruntled because he said, well, you'd have to wait, and I wanted to get in. So my grandfather said, well, what do you think? What are we going to do? And I said, well, let's go Air Force, Marines, Army, and whoever takes me, I'll go. And I went to the Air Force recruiter, and they had 4 tests they gave you, which was pretty good. Administrative, general, mechanical, and electronic.
Okay.
And I scored pretty good on the administrative and mechanical. So when I said I wanted to get into the Red Horse Battalion, which were building airfields over Vietnam, and I wanted to do that, and he says, well, we can't really guarantee it. We can, in the mechanical field, we can guarantee you, but we'll see how it goes. So from there, I was off to Amarillo, Texas, for basic training.
All right. Now, was that the first time you'd been away from home?
No, that summer, when I graduated in June of '68, I was a camp counselor up at Ivyton Incarnation Camp.
Incarnation Camp is such a great camp.
And I was teaching basketball, rowing, and stuff like that. So that was my last job before I got into the service. And then when I got back, I had to start the processing in September. And 2 days after I was 18, I was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was basic like?
Well, we had 2 basic training forts at that time. It was Lackland and Amarillo.
Yeah.
And it was only 6 weeks, and they were pushing us out fast.
Whoa,
because of the war. And so it was, the toughest part of that was going through this caged, I'll never forget it, about 75 yards. I had to crawl on my belly, and I'm tall, and my belt got caught on the cage, and I'm holding up the line, and the guys are pushing me through. and that was but the obstacle course other than that was pretty fun. And I was a track guy in New York City. I was a high jumper.
So
I was in
good skills.
I was in good shape. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
All right. So after Amarillo, where did you ship out to Nam right away, or did you have more training?
I went from Amarillo, and I got my first duty station at where you go to school in Wichita Falls, Texas. So I wanted to get out of Texas, but I wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
So Wichita Falls is where they train you for aircraft maintenance specialists.
Okay.
And I was kind of disappointed. At basic, they start handing out the orders where you're going to go. And I said, wait a minute, I wanted the Red Horse Battalion that trained in San Diego, California. Well, the drill instructor said, you get what you get, kid, and head out. And I said, okay. So I went to Wichita Falls not knowing anything about aircraft.
Yeah.
And they put us through, I think it was 3 months of training on how to work on planes, fix them, and they were props.
Oh.
And, I wanted jets if I was going to get anything, but I started out with props and aircraft, fuel systems, hydraulic systems. So we went through this school. And here's a kid that didn't know a torque wrench from a screwdriver. And at first I was having a tough time, but I had to buckle down and really, the theory of flight and the whole bit.
Wow.
So it was propellers. I wasn't too happy. I still wanted that construction Red Horse Battalion thing, but the guy told me, he said, look, there's a war going on, we need crew chiefs, maintenance guys, flight engineers, enlisted ranks to do those jobs, and you're it. So after that, I had an assignment to Sacramento, California, Air Force Base McClellan in Sacramento, and it was the Air Defense Command. And I go, wow, what's that all about? So I worked on planes that go up and down the west seaboard, Pacific there, and early warning and control in case something comes over from Soviet Union or whatever. And so I worked on those planes for 10 months. Then I was getting a little bored, and I says, I want to try to put in a request to go TDY, which is temporary duty, to Japan. I always heard, oh, Japan,
Sounds
check
exotic,
it out. It's like exotic, let's go. So I'm all set to go to Japan, and then all of a sudden I get orders to go to Udon Thani in Southeast Asia, and it's not Vietnam, but it's on the border of Laos, just south of the Mekong River. I go, what the heck is going on there? I got maps out, and I finally find it, and from what and again, the public didn't know about this, we had bases all perched along the Thai-Lao-Cambodian border, and we had a status of forces agreement with Thailand, and we were shooting in. So our base was the closest base from Hanoi on that side.
Oh, wow.
So we were like 20 miles from Laos, right in the Mekong River. And so I go, oh, there goes Japan, okay. So I'm going to Southeast Asia. So the flight, we left Travis Air Force Base out of San Francisco. Everybody was going out of that way to go over Southeast Asia. And the flight went from there to Hawaii, over Wake Island, over the Philippines, then the Philippines to Bangkok. And then from Bangkok, everybody spidered out to their bases from there.
Okay.
And then I went way up north. I mean, this is like the old...
How did you get there? Like on a Jeep? Or
no, on a plane, on a short...
Oh, okay, short
hop up from Bangkok. I got there, and they put us up downtown, which, when I say a city, it's like the Wild West.
Okay.
Really. And then a day or two later, myself and an old Sarge, we went up to the base. And so I got introduced to the guys, and I said, he said, and this is what I'm wearing today, I'm very proud of it. It was the old AC-47 gunship. And to jog your memory, remember the planes that the paratroopers used to jump out of?
Yeah.
They called them C-47s?
Yeah.
Well, this was a C-47 that they put 3 miniguns on the side.
Oh.
And we had 3 of them, and our responsibility was to maintain them and get them ready for action. And most of the time, we'd work on them during the day, and at night, we'd get a radio call that said, "Scramble Spooky," and that meant, get them out, there's something going on.
Wow.
And we did that for 6-7 months. And the guy...
And Spooky was the name of the individual?
Spooky was our group. We
Okay.
were the 437 Tactical Reconnaissance Wing, but Spooky was like our little niche there. And that's what we call them today, is Spooky Gunship.
Oh, okay.
And so I wear this hat with great pride. And the guys that were the crew chiefs, the flight crews, the flight engineers, just a great bunch of guys.
From all over the U.S.?
All over the U.S.
Oh.
My line chief, Master Sergeant, and again, you've got a picture, I'm 18, 19, but these guys are like 40. So they were like real old to us. But they were the Korean War guys, and also we called them Brown Shoe Day guys. where they were in the Army Air Corps.
Okay.
And when they were the brown shoes.
Oh,
So we call them the
yeah,
brown shoe fellas. And there was a couple of them left when I was in, when the Army broke from the Air Corps. And the sergeant that was my line chief, he knew Colonel Tibbets that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima.
Oh.
So it was, and you don't appreciate these things at the time. And, the stories that these fellas had and what they went through in Korea and all that business. So they were very professional, and the flight crews were great, very, very courageous guys.
What's it like to work so closely and so precisely with your core team of men? It must give you great confidence
It's comradeship that I don't know if you ever get it as well as you get it in the service. Let's say there's 3 planes that come back on a mission and your plane is okay, but the other planes are having a rough time, engine tune-ups or whatever. We would quickly get our plane ready to go, and then we'd all jump on that guy's plane and get that operational. And that was the key, get it operational for the mission. So it's that comradeship, because you live with these guys, we call them hooches.
Yes.
The old wooden things with the corrugated steel on top. And,
did you do anything special to make your hooch feel like home?
well, we got dartboards going. We had a little bar.
Yeah.
We always had a bar there. And the flight crews, they lived in a different world. They had the air conditioning.
Oh, okay.
Because, these guys really deserved it. Every so many days they would go out on a mission. And then when they reached their 100th mission, when they come off the plane, we would hose them down and have a big party, pop some champagne. And so I had a lot of pictures and stuff like that. So they were good then.
Do you in contact? Do you keep in contact with any of those guys now?
No. I called one guy one time. He's up in Vermont, and it was like, oh, hi, how you doing? But nothing.
Okay.
It was like
that time in history.
Yeah, it was just and I think the older you get, just a couple of years ago I started to do that, and I hooked up with a fellow in New York. We were kids together in New York City, and I said, come on, Rick, we'll join together, we'll go in. He says, I got a pretty good job down in Manhattan. So he got drafted, and he was in the Army as an infantry guy. So after 40-something years, I finally hooked up with him.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was tough finding
him.
And then the irony of it, he was just a block away from where my grandmother lived in Whitestone.
Oh my gosh.
So I found Rick.
Oh.
And he's a heating and air conditioning guy, and he's doing well. And so he's probably the only one. Everybody kind of... It was a weird time where when we got out in 72, everybody kind of dispersed. We grew our hair longer.
Yeah.
We wanted to blend.
Yeah.
We weren't looked... It's not like today. What you're doing was not even heard of when we got out.
Right.
People did not look well on the military, and we just wanted to grow our hair long and blend.
Right. And where did you go back to New York City afterwards?
No, my father had moved just after I enlisted up to Clinton. He was a New York City fireman.
Oh, really?
And so, when I'm doing a few leaves, when I got back from Southeast Asia, I said, where the heck is Clinton? And I got up here and I'm looking and I'm going, man, this place it's dead. They roll up the car, man. They roll up the street at 9 o'clock at night. But one thing, and this is half the story, is after you do your year tour in Southeast Asia, they give you this dream sheet. And you've got 3 choices to pick one. Not that you'll get them, but all right, so I'm going for Hawaii, I'm going for Florida, and I'm putting out my best shot for these 3. And right about a week before I'm ready to get out, you did a year tour. I went from January to January, 70 to 71. And then in January of 71, I got orders, and I said, man, I've arrived. The Strategic Air Command McCoy Air Force Base, Florida.
Okay.
I says, wow. So they were just starting to build Disneyland.
Oh.
And I got to see Disneyland for $3.50. Military discount. They just had the Magic Kingdom
Whoa,
built.
nice.
So I said, wow, I'm in the tall cotton. And that was working on the B-52s.
Okay.
So now I went from this kind of archaic airplane now to the B-52s. The bombers.
Nice.
So we had the 306 bomber group. So no longer a prop guy. And they give me the job. I'm involved in the phase inspection where they really tear into the plane. And I've got a crew of guys with me, and my job is the whole fuselage. We got guys doing the wings, doing the engines, so everybody else had a specialty. So I'm there for about a year, and during that time it was nice. The guy from Udon, my line chief, put me in for the Air Force Commendation Medal, and I got that.
Oh, congratulations.
So that was
oh,
nice.
that's
So that was my day, you know, when I got that.
good. When did you get out of the Army?
Well,
Or did you have a whole
well,
career?
I'm not done yet.
Oh.
It's good. So I figured once you get less than a year to go,
Yeah.
you figure it's all over. You know, I'll never go back to Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Well, at 3 o'clock in the morning, they bang on our door in our barracks, and they said, we're emptying out the whole wing. I said, where we're going? We're not telling you. So we pack up, load up, and we're flying to a place called Guam. I go, why are we going to Guam? Well, remember when Nixon decided to bomb Hanoi, Haiphong Harbor?
Yeah.
It's called Operation Arclight, and our job is we're gonna, every hour on the hour, 3 B-52s will leave Guam, 3 will leave Thailand. There was a big B-52 base in Thailand, and fighter escort from South Vietnam, saturation bombing for 6 months.
Oh my God.
So we get Guam,
Yeah.
and we're Anderson Field, which is the Air Force up in the north part of the island, and the south part of the island is the Navy. And so we land there because we're from McCoy Air Force Base. We call our shack the real McCoy.
Ah.
So it was, the only thing I can describe, remember the movie The Wizard of Oz when the black monkeys are going off?
The scary monkeys, yes.
So I look up, we were the first 50 crew chief and mechanics to land there. And we look up, and I've never seen anything like this. About 150 black B-52s are flying in. We've got to service them and get them ready for combat and all that business. So.
And how many are you? How many of you are there to do this?
Well, originally there was only like 50. Then the ranks really swelled, and they didn't have a place to put us. And we were in 10-man tents in an open field for 6 months.
Oh.
So picture it was an old green Korean War hot canvasy tent with 10 guys in there for 6 months.
Wow.
So when Carol...
And it's hot.
It's hot. When we rolled them up the sides, we tried to find fans, but it was hot.
Yeah.
And that's why Carol, she says to me, my wife, well, let's go camping. I said,
Been camping.
the Holiday Inn, man. But yeah, that was tough. And then you had to deal with typhoons and stuff like that. But
how about like snakes and critters?
Well, that was over in Thailand.
Oh, okay.
We had like planks going out to like a communal bathroom from the hooches. And you wore your combat boots, so in case a snake, a cobra would come up during the slats, he'd hit the boot and not your leg.
Oh my God.
So picture a naked GI
going to the shower.
Going to the shower with combat boots on. But then after the shower, you were completely wet from the humidity. It was just unbelievable.
Wow, I bet.
And so after that, I got got out, well, I had 2 months to go, and they call it short, I was too short to go back over
Yeah.
there. And I said, well, I'd like, this has always been my goal, to kind of work with the civil engineers. So they put me with the electricians, and I worked with them for 2 months, and then I mustered out of Florida
Okay.
and came up to Clinton.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you meet Carol? When did you meet Carol?
Well, I met Carol in '73. She's a transplant from Long Island, and her mother and my mother said, well, I got a daughter that's, I got a son, and we hooked up, we were going to Holy Advent Church there.
Yeah.
And I had to check her out, and I said, okay, so I called her up.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And then we had a date, and
Oh.
yeah, we married 41 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, what a strong connection between Holy Advent and Incarnation Camp. I mean,
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I isn't Peter the pastor now? And
Well, I don't go there
Oh, okay,
anymore.
okay.
We got married there, though.
Yeah.
I go to a great church in Branford now,
Okay.
Community Baptist Church,
Okay.
but, yeah, it was Robert Shaw was the guy when we were there. So, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
me. Now, what do you think? More about. Did you have R&R?
Yes.
And where did you go?
Went to Bangkok.
Oh, okay. And so, what did you think?
Unbelievable. That place, it's wall-to-wall people. And there's a guy on a bullhorn, and these sounds, they're giving announcements. It's like yelling 24/7.
Interesting.
And I saw John Wayne in North to Alaska in Chinese. And, it's just when, you come out and you go, Sawadee, it was cracked up.
Oh.
But, it was quite a city, Bangkok, gateway to the Orient, I guess, and the people are very friendly.
Great.
And I like the language. I learned some Thai.
Good.
I could speak pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, did what you learned in the service, did it shape your career when you got out in any way?
Well,
In some ways?
yeah, I think when I hooked up with the civil engineers, the electricians, I said, man, I like this. I think I could do this for a living. And when I first got out, the unemployment was difficult. I went to some of the airlines, and they said, well, all those military hours you got, they don't count. Do you have a civilian, power plant and airframe degree and all of this? I said, you mean all my military? I worked on props, I worked on the big jets. So I tried Hartford, I tried New Haven, I don't remember if I tried New York, but it was like a dead end. And there was this influx of guys, pilots, they were getting jobs, and some weren't, because there was just so many guys. So I said, what am I gonna do? And one day I saw an ad in the paper for electrical apprentices, and I went down there, and thank God for the GI Bill.
Good.
I went through my 5 years as an electrical apprentice with using the GI Bill.
Good.
And got my license, and worked at Pratt & Whitney for a few years, got with Connecticut Light and Power, and I was up at Millstone, and then when Dominion bought out CLMP, I stayed with Dominion. So I've been retired now for 5-6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
So it worked out. The mechanical aspect of what I learned in the service, definitely, with tools and different devices, helped me out.
Oh, that's.
And you learn how to do as much as you can with the least amount that you have.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was an experience. I don't. I look at some kids today. I say to them, look, you're 18. You really don't know what you want to do in life. Give the service a chance. It doesn't have to be Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines. Pick something. Coast Guard, Reserve, National Guard. But my grandfather was the guy, though, that really helped me to get in.
Okay.
If I had to put appoint a guy who is very patriotic. He was born on Admiral Dewey's Day when he conquered Manila Bay.
Really?
So his name is Peter Joseph Dewey Kehoe. They named him after Admiral Dewey.
Oh, that's striking.
So we come from a very military
Yeah,
family, and he was a gung-ho guy, you know, and he was the guy that drove me all around Brooklyn and going through my medical and my physical. And
now, do you go back to New York?
No,
To visit
just
much?
once in a while, but pretty much everybody's gone now.
Okay.
The older generation has passed away.
If I asked you, is there one person that you met through your service that stands out to you in
Yeah.
any way? Who
Yeah.
would you tell me about?
I would say Sergeant Canty, and he was my maintenance guy when I was in McCoy Air Force Base on the B-52s.
Okay.
And he was constantly building me up. He says, you know, he says, I want you to just do me a favor. And he was pushing me to go to officers candidate school. And I says, well, he says, look, I think you got it. You know, why don't you stay in? And I hemmed and hawed with it, but I got out. But he was a very positive guy, great leader.
Yeah.
Great leader. Knew how to motivate his people and knew how to protect his people. If there was anything coming down the pike that was going to harm us, he was right in the forefront to say, wait a minute. And he was a master sergeant, and he was a good guy.
Oh,
He was a really good guy. A lot of good guys. The older men, you know, this is why sometimes when they stigmatize the Vietnam era and, you know, the guys that were over there, that everybody was high and everybody was...
Yeah.
No. These were professionals all the way. And if you had a rough night or you drank too much or anything, you didn't touch anything. Go over there, sleep it off, and then we'll, you know, when you feel okay, then you can start touching things. But
We're not going to
we're
risk
not,
anybody.
and the same thing with the guys out in the field.
Yeah.
You know, you had to rely on each other, so
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That was good. And when people say to you, thank you for your service,
it's
Tom.
weird.
It's weird? Okay,
weird.
tell
It's
me
weird.
what.
You don't feel like you did anything better than anybody
Okay.
else. And, you know, again, when we came home, there was no brass bands, there was no adulation. And, you know, you think of the guys that didn't come back. And we had some of that. I was lucky where I was not in combat, but I saw the results.
Yeah.
I saw planes come back crashing. I saw guys punching out. And we had one plane that crashed and killed 10 guys in our armed forces, you know, TV station, communication center. And so you saw that aspect of it. But I was very lucky. I didn't do missions or anything like that. Just get the plane ready, get it going.
Good.
But it is weird when people say thank you. I don't know. There's a lot of other guys that deserve a lot more, you know, thank yous than I do. Everybody's got their little piece of what they contributed, I guess.
All right, I guess my last question is going to be, what is it, what attracts you, what's the best things about being connected with the American Legion or the VFW?
It's like the comradeship revisited.
Okay.
It's, you know, Tom, I've known him now for a few years, and I didn't join until I was 60 years old.
Okay.
You know, because and I was riding by and I know Ray Appel.
Yeah.
And Ray says, what's holding you back, man? Why don't you join? We could use you. And I said, all right. So you join and then you get involved and then you get an office. And right now I'm the chaplain, adjutant. So I've got some responsibilities now. And we've got a great commander, Jim Norrie, a young guy that's an Iraqi vet.
Yeah.
Charlie McKenzie's our quartermaster. So we got a great nucleus.
Good.
And then the old timers, George Eccleston, you know, he's our historian and Korean War guy. But it's again, that camaraderie ship, and we want to do things for veterans and things that